Welcome to Midfield Sportscast.
And the 23rd episode of the Divided Friendship Podcast. It is me, Maddyx. It is Dawson, and it is Luke.
Yeah.
We're here for a very late episode about the national championship and a few other things if we feel like talking about it. So, Michigan-Washington national title 2024. Dawson, Luke, you're Michigan fans. I'm not. Take it away.
Goodness.
So
You just
really,
sucked the whole air out of the room.
for Michigan, all they had to do basically that game is just run the football. They could have ran the ball the whole game. I'm not saying they didn't need J.J. McCarthy, but if they didn't have J.J. McCarthy, I don't think it would have made a huge
It
difference.
would have made a huge difference.
I mean, we'd still win.
No.
Blake Corum, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Donovan Edwards came out of hibernation. He hadn't been good. Well, he hasn't been.
Okay, bud, calm down with your wording.
He hasn't been showing as much talent as he did last year. His best game until that point was Penn State. But then he came up big. But his first 2 runs were rushing touchdowns. He ended up having 104 yards on 6 carries for 2 touchdowns. JJ, he went 10 for 18, 140 yards, no touchdowns. Alex Orji got himself 2 carries for 15 yards. The hopeful starter for Michigan, hopefully. Colston Loveland, the top receiver, he had 3 catches for 64 yards. Roman Wilson, 3 for 54. Cornelius Johnson, 3 for 25. Kalel Mullings had 3 carries for 21 yards. And that's about it. Defensively for the Wolverines, Mike Sainristil, he had 6 tackles, no tackles for loss. He had an interception that he would get like a 87-yard run back on, but would not get a touchdown. Will Johnson also had an interception to start off the first half. Kenneth Grant had himself second half. Kenneth Grant had a tackle for loss. Keon Sabb, which he's no longer at Michigan, he got 6 tackles. Yeah.
Now.
Wait, then that means Mike Sanders still got 8, because I was looking at solo tackles.
Now he's at Alabama.
Yeah.
Not really sure why he left, because he would have started nickel. So, kind of confused me when I saw that, but good for him, whatever. He's at Bama. He's just going to play where Caleb Downs played.
And now for Washington, Penix, not his greatest game. 27 for 51, 255 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. What's his name? McMillan? What's his first name? Jalen McMillan. He had 42 yards and a touchdown. It was a receiving touchdown. Jalen McMillan had a receiving touchdown. Dylan Johnson, 57 yards, no touchdowns. So not much. Well, Washington did have 301 yards, or 301 offensive yards. Michigan had 443, and they broke a national title record with the most rushing yards in a national title.
In the college football playoff national
title. Yeah. That's about it stat-wise. Michigan just ran the ball down their throat, and it worked. Free.
All right. So, any takeaways from this game, Philly? Or?
Not really. It's kind of what people expected it to be. Michigan dominated the majority of the game and got the job done.
Now we move on to the offseason of college football, where Michigan has started
not
very interestingly Head coach Jim Harbaugh announces he will leave the program and will be the next head coach at LA Chargers. He is now taking some of their staff with him. As Dawson, you could kind of point out some of the people that you have lost on the coaching staff, if you can.
It's a freaking lot.
The main people. You don't have to talk about it.
Jesse Minner.
Huh?
Jesse Minner to the Chargers.
Jim Harbaugh obviously gone to the Chargers. Jesse Minner, the defensive coordinator, gone to the Chargers.
Jay Harbaugh.
Ben Herbert also gone to the Chargers. He was our strength and conditioning coach. Special teams coach. Jay Harbaugh was. It looked like he was going to leave with Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers as well, but he ended up going to the Seahawks, and he is now their special teams coordinator. We lost our D-line coach to the Chargers. Our offensive coordinator obviously promoted to head coach. We brought in a new defensive coordinator from the Giants. Winkdale, I think's his name.
Wink Martindale.
Yeah,
Dale.
Wink Martindale from the
Wink Martindale from the Giants.
weird
Comes
looking
in to
fella.
be our defensive coordinator. I know we lost more, but I can't think of anybody
There's
else.
a
Those
whole
are the
lot.
major people.
Yeah. I mean, like 80% of our staff went to the Chargers.
And
Not
then
true.
you have 44 seniors leave. Is that what it was?
Freaking no.
18 to the combine, new record.
Yeah, they brought back so many people last year that this year they had an insane amount of people leave and go to the NFL and graduate. And now, to the Ohio State part of things, they kind of did the same thing this year. They brought back almost everybody except for Michael Hall Jr. and Marvin Harrison Jr. They return to the Buckeyes and they bring in a bunch of highly recruited transfer prospects. And Quinshon Judkins, Josh Downs, Caleb Downs, bring in center from Alabama, and what else am I missing? Seth McLaughlin's his name, the center. Will Howard.
Offensive coordinator.
Will Howard. Then we missed this. Hired Bill O'Brien throughout the podcasting time that we were off, and then in that span of time, in 2 weeks, he then leaves, becomes the next head coach at Boston College, and the Buckeyes now hire Ohio State head coach Ryan Day's idol, or who he was under for most of his career before Ohio State, and Chip Kelly to be the next offensive coordinator. So a connection there. Chip Kelly comes in from UCLA, leaves a head coaching job to be an offensive coordinator. And Ohio State also picked up Will Howard and Julian Sang. So expect some transfers in the quarterback room when the portal opens up again, which we'll definitely have content about that. But since our last podcast, really not that much.
Brown's leaving.
Probably, yes. Since that podcast, not a lot has happened in the portal because it's not been open for most teams, and it's shut for all the teams that had the coaches leave. So,
Who's the new quarterback at Tulane?
shoot.
Was it the guy? It was the guy from Oregon, wasn't it?
Ty Thompson, yeah. Is there really that much else we can talk about? Expect some college basketball content. March Madness coming up. We will have bracketology and a bunch of bracket breakdowns and stuff like that, and the matchups when they get announced. We will put out our brackets.
And
we'll do a
we'll
bracket
also
contest.
make a group so you guys can join and compete and try and beat us and beat our scores.
Just like in Bowl Mania, but don't expect us to be very good. At least I'm not that good at college basketball. But we will all make our brackets. Not really that much else.
Really
Oh,
not that
yeah,
much else to talk about.
The game?
I mean, I guess
College Football 25 coming out. Expect some dynasties and stuff. We will all have our own.
Fire.
Ooh.
have some online dynasties with some people from the podcast.
I might get an Xbox.
Where me, Dawson, and Luke have been waiting for this game
My
since
scholarship.
we all started. We all started in years ago playing college football 13 when we were introduced to the game from YouTube. Then we all started playing it. Really, we couldn't get 14, so we all play 13, and we play it all the time, every day almost. And we've been waiting for this game for years. Not as long as some people, but for people our age, very long. But we're really excited for it. Game's coming out. A bunch of stuff announced for it, and we'll definitely do some more reviews when the news come out. We might even live stream games when we can on Instagram. So follow our Instagram, our TikTok, everything. Follow it all up. Like the podcast, please. Subscribe. Share it around. Is that it, really?
There's really not much else.
Not much else to talk about. Watch podcast 24 coming out soon after this one. NFL mock drafts. More of those coming soon. And Philly, hit the outro.
Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you on the next one.
Adios.